Welcome to Stick It at Night. I'm your freeholder, Anthony L. Romano, representing the great cities of Hoboken and Jersey City. Welcome. First and foremost, I hope everyone is doing well with their health, and we pray for those who are suffering through COVID and tough economic times. Okay, today, hopefully it's our last virtual show, and when we come back in September, we'll have people here live in the studio again. We have with us today a political operative who now owns newspapers, a good friend, a good person, family man, my friend, Steve Lenox. Steve-O. Are you there, Steve?
Production. It's a pleasure to be with you today.
My guy, Steve.
Can you hear me okay?
Yeah, now we got you. We had a little something in the studio. All right, Steve-O, what's going on? How's everything, buddy?
Everything's great. It's a pleasure to see you, and I'm sorry I'm not in studio with you, but we will of course look forward to COVID-19 being swept away, hopefully sooner rather than later, so we can spend some time together again in person.
Yes, some history.
In the great city of Hoboken.
Steve, questions. Let's start off. My producer and I were talking about your history. You're mostly, first and foremost, a political operative, correct? Advisor, consultant to campaigns.
You can use, I guess, sure. I worked my way up for more than 20 years working in politics and government in and around New Jersey, state, local, federal level. My last full-time job, or real job in quotes, was working as Senator Frank Lautenberg's state director, who I know was a big fan of yours, freeholder, and you of his. And since 2010, I've been out on my own. I've been running my own communications firm.
Right now,
so I prefer
Steve,
to say communications consultant.
Are you a New Jersey born and raised?
New Jersey, born and raised. Yep. I grew up in Morris County, and I've lived everywhere from Middlesex County to Hoboken for several years. Now I'm out in Essex County. So I've made.
And you have an interesting relationship, right, as far as your wife and children. Tell us about that a little bit.
Sure, absolutely. I've been married for 19 years to my wife, Aoife. The Irish community will recognize that as a good Irish name. We have 3 boys together, Connor, Keenan, and Dylan. And they actually reside in Ireland. They're living in Ireland full time. So I kind of commute between New Jersey and Ireland on a monthly basis, notwithstanding COVID.
You know those times when you need to see the doctor, but you just can't get to the doctor? So where do you go? Go to the App Store, download the TeleMed app from RWJ Barnabas Health, and you see the doctor right away. From any mobile device, whenever you want, wherever you are.
Quality care, no appointment necessary. The doctor is online when you download the TeleMed app.
Don't you feel better already?
RWJ Barnabas Health. Let's be healthy together.
Hudson TMA reminds you that a bicycle is considered a vehicle. When you ride a bike, you must obey the rules of the road.
Ride single file in the same direction as traffic. Obey traffic signs and signals. Signal your turns and look behind you before you turn, and always stay alert.
Now, you're also, right now, you represent the Jersey City police officers, too?
I do. I've been doing some communications work for the Jersey City POBA for the union and the PSOA for about 5 years. Just really making sure that the community is very well aware of the work that they do on a day in and day out basis. It's obviously all the crime fighting and keeping the residents of Jersey City safe, but there's a lot of community participation that's involved with the work they do too. Sponsoring picnics or doing mentoring or coaching Little League. They're really men and women that care about their city, and it's my job to make sure people know that.
Well, I got to give a lot of credit to the Jersey City POBA for having the foresight to have someone of your stature, especially during these times, to work with the community, because it's important. Obviously, you know what's going on, and we see what's going on in the country. And it's important that you have someone like yourself representing the police to see the good things that they do. How did you get into the newspaper business?
I got into the newspaper business about 3 years ago. It was just an opportunity that came across my desk, so to speak. It was, I think, as an entrepreneur, I'm always looking for new opportunities, and I was able to buy into a franchise, which is what TAPinto is. It's a franchise, and my first one was in Paterson, TAPinto Paterson, and since then I've expanded to 5 different cities. Most recently, Hoboken and Jersey City.
Now, Steve, is that hardcore newspaper or is that just social media? How does that work, TAPinto?
We are all online. We're internet based. We're web based. It's a newspaper though. We're telling all the news about the cities we cover, whether it's what's happening in City Hall or what the police have been up to, or local sports, the schools. We really cover the whole gamut. I think where we try to separate ourselves from your more traditional newspapers is we don't subscribe to this idea that if it bleeds, it leads. We're not looking to sensationalize the news. We're looking to get the stories out there. We're looking to make a positive impact also on the communities that we're serving now.
Well, I think that's important, to be fair. I watch some of the news outlets, and they seem to be jaded one way or jaded the other instead of getting to the truth. How did you come about finding TAPinto?
So TAPinto has been around for over a decade now, and it kind of took the place of Patch. Patch started out 15 years ago or so as a local newspaper, and it got bought up by AOL. And they still exist, but I think they've lost that local flavor a little bit. So TAPinto came along. The CEO is a gentleman named Michael Shapiro, also a New Jersey boy, who I actually met at Rutgers University more than 20 years ago. So the relationship goes back as far as that. And we just came back in touch again over the past 5 or 6 years. And I saw it as an opportunity to expand the work I was doing, to help tell the stories of some of these organizations that aren't getting in the newspapers regularly. There's nonprofits, there's schools, there's students. We've lost that local news aspect of storytelling, and there's so many good stories to tell. But I think corporate media is often driven by clicks, which are important. I like clicks too, and they're driven by revenue, which is also important. But they kind of lose sight of the fact that there's good stories to tell that people want to read. And it changes what people think about their community, whether it's the census, whether it's flooding, whether it's improving a park. Today we published a story about the city of Hoboken looking for folks to be on the Shade Tree Commission. It's not going to get the most clicks, but that's an important story to tell. We need residents to know there's an opportunity to make a positive impact on their city.
Well, it's interesting you said the Shade Tree Commission, because we just had a meeting, the county and Hoboken, working out some different issues with regards to trees on county streets. Mm-hmm. So it is an issue of importance for a lot of people. My question to you is with regard to your staff. How many people do you have working for you?
Sure. So across the 5 newspapers, I have 6 or 7 different people that work with me in Hoboken and Jersey City. And I've also got Bayonne. I've got 2 full-time reporters, both very well connected into Hudson County. Al Sullivan and Chris Holleran, both gentlemen I know you know well, who have decades of experience in news reporting in Hudson County. And then I use freelancers from time to time to help get some stories out there. And we also rely a lot on readers' submissions. Readers can very easily submit their own content right onto our website.
Well, in Hoboken, there was 2 magazines, as would say, HMag and 07030. And when they were done, I think every 3 months or 4 months they would come out. It was wonderful. We had so many personal insight stories, as you said. And then HMag seemed to have faded into a social media, and Chris took it over and put life back into it. And 07030, I think that's associated with the reporter chain, correct, Tim? Steve?
I'm not sure about 07030. I certainly know Chris Holleran from HMag. Yeah, 'cause he's my partner on Hoboken. And you're right. I think a lot of these online sources have really moved to a all social media sort of way of presenting their news to people. It is important. We can't get away from Facebook and Twitter and even Instagram to an extent. But, you're limited in how much you can say. So through TAPinto and even through HMag, you can tell a more full story, a broader story, and give readers the full picture of what's really happening in their community.
Hudson TMA reminds you that before you ride, you should perform the ABC Quick Check. Here's how to do it.
You don't want your bike to fail you, so get in the habit of doing the ABC Quick Check before you ride. A is for air. Check that your tires are properly inflated. They should be pumped up to the inflation rating printed on the tire. Many bicycle pumps come with a pressure gauge, so you can make sure they're properly inflated. Low-pressure tires can easily puncture. B is for brakes. Check that your brakes are working. Your brake lever shouldn't come closer than a thumb's width to the handlebar. Your wheel should spin freely when the brakes are off. C is for the cranks, chain, and cassette. Grab both crank arms like this and wiggle them to make sure they aren't loose. Spin the pedals and make sure the chain runs smoothly through the gears. Quick means making sure your wheels are on tight if you have quick release wheels. The wheels should be snug in the dropouts and the quick release lever fastened tight.
So what's next for TAPinto?
So what's next for TAPinto? So across the state, we're at 85 sites or so. So we're covering a large swath of New Jersey. We're also as far reaching as Florida. We're in New York and Pennsylvania as a organization. We're looking at some opportunities to bring some specialty type sites. There's TAPinto TV. There's NJ Flavor, which really focuses on restaurants and food. And that's a young woman named Jackie Lieberman who's launched TAPinto Westfield and really built a great empire of her own there. And that's going to continue to grow. I think what's next for us, though, especially in places like Hoboken, is to continue to tell the stories that are important, to try to support small business. You know, we all know they're hurting. They're hurting right now. And we want to do what we can to try to get customers back in those businesses. We want to try to be back in the schools as soon as we can so we can tell the stories of these great students and these great teachers. We'll keep following the police and the firemen and make sure the community knows what they're up to. And at the same time, we'll keep the politicians to task. You know, we'll make sure the mayors and the freeholders are doing what they should be doing, you know, continuing to serve the public in honorable ways, which I know you've done for decades.
We have a 1 o'clock meeting today. Steve, what about politics? Touching on politics. I know that deep inside of you, that's a real love of yours. So tell us how you're going to blend that into TAPinto.
It's certainly been a challenge, freeholder. It's you know, now that I own a newspaper, I have to be very mindful of what my opinions are and how vocal I am with my opinions. So we want to be seen as a reputable source for news. So I think what served me the best, my 20 or so years in politics, is the ability to build relationships with people, meaningful and honest relationships. It doesn't matter what party you're from or what side of the left or right divide or who you may be aligned with. I think if we deal with each other with honesty and respect, we can tell the stories in a fair way. So, you know, I certainly watch what's happening at the state level and the local level. And you're right, I'm a political animal at heart, and I revel in it, and I've always enjoyed it. And the next few months will be interesting as you know, these folks vie to be president of the United States, and we'll see how that shakes out.
Well, I have a question for you. It's a little off key, but I'm hoping that you do an article on it. How about a united Ireland? Is it going to happen?
So, you know, I think Ireland, like every other country in the world right now, they're dealing with COVID-19. You know, that's their number one issue. They're trying to get through the economic and the health impact of COVID-19. I was there for 4.5 months this year. Typically, I'm back and forth every 10 days, but I flew over in early March before the breakout really, before the pandemic spread, and I just ended up staying there for 4.5 months.
But there seems to be an undercurrent of people wanting to unify.
I think people want to be unified everywhere. You know, there's always going to be folks that like to be dissenting voices and fight, but I think most people want to come together. So how that plays out in Ireland will remain to be seen. I think you've got a very progressive government in Ireland right now. You've got three of the major parties working together in coalition. You've got Sinn Féin, of course. I believe they have the majority of members, actually. They won the most seats in the last election, so they're certainly a very powerful voice. So, you know, they've got to get through Brexit, and I know we don't have all day to talk about international affairs here, but they've got to get through Brexit, they've got to get through COVID, and they've got to figure out how to make sure people are working again, and maintaining peace is the most important.
Is the religious differences calmed down since the last 30 years, correct?
Absolutely. You know, and that's something President Clinton really did a wonderful job at, and Senator George Mitchell. They and of course the leaders in Ireland, both North and South. There's peace in Ireland. There certainly is. It's not like it was decades ago, which is good. Yeah, there's peace, and I think peace is driven by economics, right? If people are working, people tend to be more peaceful. So we have to make sure people keep working.
Well, let's hope we get a united Ireland in the next few years. All right, Steve. So, when you say you're into different levels of government, what do you talk about with regard to the county? Tell me what your interests are, what you think about what we're doing in the county government with regard to our correctional facility, with regards to our CARES Act, how we're helping distribute the money, and the different things that we're doing.
Sure. I think the number one issue that the county is working on right now, as our counties across the state, it's not just the COVID-19 and the CARES Act and getting people back to work, but it's getting people counted in the census. That is absolutely critical right now. And I know everybody on the Freeholder Board is working very hard at that. County Executive DeGise, of course, is leading the way. It is critical that Hudson County gets counted. I think it's a little bit over 50% of the residents have been counted across the county. Places like Jersey City are going down below 49 or so. So we've got to make sure those residents get counted. And that's a place where we're very happy to team with the county and make sure people know what's happening. Earlier today, I had a conversation with Executive DeGise's office with Mr. Kelleher about making sure people know about the rent incentives that are out there, or rent support that's out there.
Who did you speak to?
Make sure, I'm drawing a blank on a name now, and I
probably either
Kelleher.
Craig Guy or Pat McCarthy. Probably one of them.
No, not
you
Craig
said
Guy.
Kelleher, and that threw me.
Kelleher. Jim.
Oh, Jim
spokesman.
Kennelly. Jim Kennelly.
Jim Kennelly. I'm getting my Irish names mixed up. Jim Kennelly. Making sure that the message about rent support programs are getting out there and business support programs are getting out there. So there's a lot of ways that the media and government can coordinate with each other,
yeah.
and tell a joint story. And I think that's very important.
It has actually changed my life. You know, it's wonderful to be in recovery. I'm also a grandpa, a great-grandpa. I found joy in being abstinent from use.
You know, I'm a family member, I'm a productive member of society, I'm a dog owner, things like that. I'm a fiance. So I think that recovery means on such a broad scale, there's so many different layers to what recovery means to me.
We're just like everyone else. We have heart and soul. It's just that we have this substance abuse disorder and that we're dealing with that. And if anything, it makes us a little bit stronger.
The most important thing for people in the communities to know is that they're just like anyone else, and that they don't necessarily want to be doing the things that they're doing, and it's a chronic illness and it's a chronic disease that needs to be addressed as so.
Yeah, I know. We did a with the CARES Act with Senator Menendez, bring it down, and Tom. We had in Hoboken with Mayor Bala, having that press conference, explaining to the people. As you said, the businesses, small businesses, are hurting the most, and I see that with my own family business that it's tough times right now, and hopefully we can come out of this, but yet we know that the safety of our residents is paramount. And hopefully we're going to get a vaccine soon because of the social distancing, the school situation. I think an interesting interview for you would be with Dr. Christine Johnson of the Hoboken school system. She's turned that system around. And I know our community college with Dr. Reber, he's added new life to the college, taken off from our previous administration, who did a great job. Our schools are thriving. And be interesting for people to understand what our county schools do.
I agree with you. And I think that's a place to tap into so the world can play an outsized role. We work very closely in Patterson with Passaic County Community College. We've just struck a relationship with Mercer County Community College. You know, the nature of college is changing. COVID has changed everything, right? And the community colleges do a wonderful, wonderful job. I'm a product of a county college. They do a wonderful job educating folks as they come out of high school and they want to transition to a 4-year school. So I agree with you. We need to make sure our readers are aware of the opportunities that exist right there in Hudson County to continue their education. We also need to make sure folks are aware in places like Hoboken and Jersey City and Bayonne that the primary schools, the elementary schools, as you say, in the high schools, the public school system, they are thriving. They're doing their best. You know, it's a difficult situation. The economics just are getting us all. And of course, having to learn from home, I don't know how long that's going to last. I mean, at least till November 1st, I guess, is what we're talking about. And
well, I think it's interesting, the hybrid theory. You know, you have some children in 1 week and then others the next week. At least they're getting some in-personal education, because it can't be all at home. But yet we have to worry about the safety of the children.
Well, that's it. The safety of the children is paramount, and the safety of the teachers and the administrators, and the safety of the families that the teachers go home to every night and
Right.
that the children go home to every night. I think the hybrid model could be wonderful too. I don't know enough about the science of
Yes.
COVID-19. I don't think any of us do,
Right.
but the reality is you put kids in the classroom again, you put any people together in a closed room, and you run the risk of spreading that virus. And we have to find ways to mitigate that.
And I think also TAPinto could probably help when they meet like the merchants on Central Avenue in Jersey City, in Hoboken, the new Business Alliance. Plus, we're proud of a special improvement district, and I think it's important to you to get that out to the people how that's working, because we have a lot of empty storefronts in Hoboken, and hopefully after this is over, we can get people back in.
Absolutely. We covered the story yesterday about the Central Avenue improvements and that Mayor Fulop just announced. That's going to be a wonderful $4 million project, really add life to that corridor again. The Hoboken Business Alliance, we're very much in touch with them on a regular basis. And, keep in mind, there's an advertising component to all this too, but we want to work with these small businesses. So we need to drive some revenue. But at the same time, we're not going to drive revenue if the businesses aren't open. So it's incumbent upon us to drive customers into those businesses.
Tell us, Steve, about your advertising. How does that work? How could people, before we leave at the end of the show, I want you to tell our audience how one gets into TAPinto, and you were talking about advertising. How does that work?
Sure. So we have a variety of opportunities for advertising. We have your traditional banner ads, which everybody is familiar with. You click on a website and you'll see an ad pop up, whether it's for whatever it may be, the Benny Todino's Pizza or Bank of America. So we have banner advertising. Where our strength really lies, though, is in what's called content marketing and the opportunity for businesses and organizations to come to us and place stories that get shared with our readers in a very affordable way that we can then blast out. And of course, we have social media. We can blast their stuff further on social media. But everything on TAPinto really starts with really good content. Making sure people are reading about Hudson County Community College, making sure people are reading about the latest restaurant in Hoboken, or about the Hoboken shelter that's doing such tremendous work, and making them searchable online as well. So when people are Googling around, they're coming across these organizations and these businesses.
Steve, where do you see you going into other markets now with TAPinto? Are you looking in other states, other places?
Well, TAPinto is certainly growing, and it's growing across the country. Where I go with it remains to be seen. I'm up to 5 sites right now, and it's challenging to run 5 newspapers, obviously. And these are big communities that I'm running these sites in. It's Patterson, it's Jersey City, it's Bayonne, it's Hoboken, and it's Hamilton down in Mercer County. So we're reaching a lot of readers as it is. Statewide, we're in more than 85 communities, as I said. And we all work together, too. We all share news. Where it takes me, again, remains to be seen. Right now, I'm continuing to lay roots in each of these cities, and we're growing a tremendous readership. We've only been around since April 1st in Jersey City and Hoboken, and already we're getting about 30,000 readers a month in each city, which I think shows.
You're talking about 2 of the cities on the Gold Coast, and I'm sure and there's interesting stories in all 12 cities. I think Mayor Grilla in East Newark has added life to that city. And all our other cities, North Bergen, West New York, Union City. There's stories to be told. Weehawken, Bayonne, what Kenny Kopaz, a good friend of mine, is freeholder and also assistant superintendent of schools, solving problems there. Mayor Davis, that whole area that used to be Motby. There's so much, I'm sure, meat and potatoes to discuss in all these different wonderful cities of our county. It was 12 cities that have a lot to offer.
Yeah, and these are all wonderful communities. And I've been in Bayonne now for a little over 2 years doing the TAPinto, and the audience there has grown. It's exploded. But I think it's because of the style of news that we're telling and the honesty with which we approach our stories, and the positivity also. We're not looking to just run around and chase fires or, sort of talk about the doom and gloom or get really mired in the negative politics. We want to tell some positive stories as well, because we want people to feel good about coming to TAPinto. We want people to feel good after they've read the news. That's important.
Well, I think people are tired, Steve, of everything negative, always divisive. to see the good things that are going on that people are doing. You mentioned the Hoboken Shelter before, Jackie Cherubini and her staff. In fact, the shelter has actually outgrown its present location in Hoboken, and we seem to be drawing homeless in from New York, and it's just it's so much of a overcapacity that we're dealing with. And what's the answer to that problem? And how do you solve it? I know with the county, we've given a lot of funds, and we have Randy Moore. And for example, today we're delivering seniors in the different cities, different produce, and that's a wonderful story. And it combines two of our departments, Director Toon with Director D'Alessandro, with Wally. Our work is go and pick up the produce, bring it to the Juno Center. And if a city can't come and get it, it's delivered. And a lot of people don't know that the things that the county does. People say, "Huh, what's our county?" And now with the name change, you can probably find out when that's going to take effect. We're going to be now county commissioners.
Absolutely.
So, what's your opinion on that?
I think it's important. I think we finally come to the realization that racial inequality exists. It's existed for generations, and it continues to exist. And while some may say it's nothing, it's changing a name, it's a lot more than changing a name. Words matter. It's a lot more than just changing what your title is. It's sort of taking a very nasty piece of history out of government, which we're never should have been anyway. But it's hopefully making a move towards us being a unified people. And I know
I pushed for this years ago. I remember then Assemblyman Charles from Jersey City. He was a police officer.
Charles Maynard, yeah.
Charles, yes.
Yep.
And I said to him, it's a denigrating term, so you change it.
Yep.
It's not a big deal.
It's legislation that bounced around for a long time, obviously. And again, a lot of people will say, aren't there more important things to worry about? Maybe there are, maybe there aren't. I mean, to a large group of people, this is
right.
worrisome to them that this name still exists, and we know why. Deep down in our hearts, we know why this is bothersome, and we know why it had to be fixed. And I'm glad government moved the way it did to get it done.
Tell us, Steve, how does? I'm sorry.
I said it doesn't fix all of our issues, but it moves us in the right direction.
Steve, tell the people how they can get into TAPinto before we sign off.
Sure. So you can go right to tapinto.net and then select the town you want to visit, or you can go right to TAPinto Hoboken, TAPinto Jersey City, or tapintobayonne.net. Every site is TAPinto and then the city.net.
Well,
you can
Steve,
sign
as
up for
always,
a daily email, like us on Facebook.
Oh, good. That's good to know. It's always a pleasure speaking with you. I always considered you someone very knowledgeable. You're always a straight shooter, a man of good character, which in the political world, we hope that everyone has that character.
Yep.
I look forward to seeing you in Hoboken and Jersey City. And I want to thank you for coming on. We wish you the best of luck with TAPinto. And I know that you'll be involved in making sure that we're doing the right thing at the county and helping all of our small businesses. I'm your freeholder, Anthony L. Romano, for Stick at Night. We'll be seeing you soon. Thank you.
Thank you.